Today we're tackling something pretty unsettling, something you might have seen floating around online, and that's, well, chroming,
Yeah, it's been making the rounds, that's for sure.
right? And it sounds pretty scary, kids huffing stuff to get high. It's like, is this some new terrifying trend? But diving into it, it turns out this isn't actually new at all.
Not new, no. We used to call it huffing back in the day.
Exactly, and we've got a really interesting article here from UPMC Health Beat that kind of breaks it all down.
It's fascinating, actually. People have been messing around with inhalants for, like, forever.
Yeah, it's like a blast from the past, but not in a good way. So for those who haven't heard this term chroming, what exactly are we talking about?
So basically it involves inhaling chemicals, things like spray paint to get high.
Spray paint? Like the stuff you buy at the hardware store?
Yeah,
What?
exactly. And a lot of times it's those metallic ones, hence the name chroming, because of that shiny chrome
What?
finish.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, what is it about inhaling these chemicals that actually gets people high? What's the science behind that?
Well, it all comes down to this chemical compound called toluene. It's found in a lot of these aerosol products. And basically, toluene kind of hijacks your brain's reward system.
Hijacks it how?
Well, it messes with your neurotransmitter, see? And that creates this feeling of euphoria, kind of like being drunk.
So it's like a chemically induced high.
Exactly. The article actually quotes a medical toxicology expert, Dr. Anthony Pizon, who says toluene is, quote, inebriating.
Inebriating, huh?
Yeah, it gives you that, quote, drunken feeling.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, this kind of high, it comes with a pretty hefty, potentially deadly price tag.
Yeah, reading through this article, it definitely doesn't sugarcoat the risks. It goes into some honestly terrifying short-term and long-term consequences.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about a headache or a stomachache here.
Absolutely not. This is serious stuff. In the short term, you could be looking at asphyxiation. Uh, your heart could stop.
Your heart could stop.
Yeah. Seizures, coma. You could even die from a single incident.
Wow.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the long-term effects are just as scary. We're talking brain damage, heart problems, damage to your liver, your kidneys. It's like playing Russian roulette with your organs.
One of the things that really got me in the article was this term, and I have to admit it sounds terrifying, sudden sniffing death. What exactly is going on there?
Yeah, it's as scary as it sounds. Basically, inhaling these chemicals, it can disrupt your heart's rhythm, and that can lead to cardiac arrest.
It happens just like that.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes after just one inhale, it's like a silent killer. You might not even see it coming.
That's terrifying. And to think these products are so easily accessible, it's not like we're talking about some illegal drug here. This is spray paint. You can pick that up at any hardware store.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's Dr. Pizon. He actually says in the article, and this is a direct quote, it's easily accessible and it seems innocuous.
Innocuous, like harmless.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what makes it even more dangerous,
Yeah.
especially for young people. You know, they see a can of spray paint, something adults use every day, and they don't associate it with the same risks as, say, illegal drugs.
Right, it doesn't have that same stigma.
Exactly. But the reality is this stuff can be just as deadly, if not more so. And because it is so readily available, it's easy to see how a trend like this could take hold, especially online.
And that's what's so, I don't know, unnerving about all this, right? It's like, how do you even start to tackle something that's hiding in plain sight? You can't just like ban spray paint.
It's true. It's a tricky situation. But the article does offer some advice from Dr. Pizon about, prevention, intervention, that kind of thing. And it all starts with, well, communication.
So just like talking to young people about the dangers.
Yeah, exactly. Having these open and honest conversations about with the very real risks of chroming and not just lecturing, but actually engaging, like answering their questions, debunking those myths they might have picked up online because let's face it, the internet can be a breeding ground for misinformation.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like every other day there's some new dangerous trend popping up. But why do you think something like this, something as dangerous as chroming, why does it gain traction so quickly, especially among like younger people? Is it just the internet or is there something more at play there?
That's a great question. It's not just about accessibility. It's about, I think, the way young people, teenagers especially, are wired. They're curious. They crave novelty. They're like incredibly sensitive to peer pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you combine that with social media, where trends can like go viral in hours. It's a recipe for risky behavior.
It's like this weird mix of curiosity and peer pressure and FOMO all playing out online, that whole if it's not on TikTok, did it even happen
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And what's even more concerning is the teenage brain, it's still developing. That part of the brain that assesses risk, makes those good judgments, it's not fully there yet.
Right, right.
So they might not get truly grasp the long-term consequences of their actions.
And on top of that, they're just bombarded with information constantly. It's got to be overwhelming trying to figure out what's real, what's fake, what's dangerous.
Absolutely. And that's where, adults come in. We have to be more than just providers. We have to be guides, mentors, trusted sources of information. We need to educate ourselves about these online trends, even
Yeah.
if they seem, baffling or silly.
So it's not just about talking, right? Is there anything like practical we can do to prevent this from happening?
Absolutely. Dr. Pizon mentioned some really practical tips. One, we need to be mindful of what we have around the house. Secure those household products with dangerous chemicals.
Okay.
If you don't need it, dispose of it safely.
So like keeping spray paint locked up, out of reach.
Exactly. Exactly. It's also about, being aware of warning signs. Have you noticed any unusual smells in your child's room? Like chemical smells? Have they suddenly taken an interest in metallic spray paint for no apparent reason? Are there any paint stains on their hands, their face? These could be signs of chroming, and we can't ignore that.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to jump to conclusions, but you also can't be too careful.
Right.
It's about finding that balance, respecting their privacy, but also looking out for them.
Exactly. Being vigilant without being intrusive. Creating an environment where young people feel safe to come to you if they're, struggling or if they've made a mistake.
That makes sense. Building that trust so they feel like they can confide in you. So say you do suspect someone might be experimenting with chroming. What then? What's the best course of action?
Don't hesitate to reach out for help. Talk to a healthcare professional, a school counselor, a trusted adult. There are resources available.
It takes a village, right?
It really does.
We all have a role to play in keeping young people safe.
Exactly. It's a shared responsibility, and it starts with awareness.
It's easy to feel, I don't know, kind of overwhelmed by all this. Like, how can we possibly keep up with every single dangerous trend that pops up online?
I know, it can feel like you're fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
But even if we can't control everything, we can control how we respond. And for me, it all starts with awareness. The more we know about these trends, the more prepared we are to protect, ourselves and the young people in our lives.
Knowledge is power, like they say.
That's right.
And you've definitely given us a lot to think about today.
I'm glad to hear that. If even one person listening learns something new and maybe takes action, then it's all worth it.